T Cowboy, the Kevin Allen Show welcomes you to today's show. So, sit back, relax, and put your thinking caps on, and remember to share, like, and subscribe.
And welcome right here on this Wednesday morning. This is the Kevin Allen Show. We've been sort of in a hiatus on the regular show for a bit. We haven't been doing a regular show 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. like we started over a year ago, and continuing our interviews going back 3 years ago. And some of the interviews and people we've met along the way you've seen in that little promo video Paul put together for us. And thank you so much. Mark is not with us today, or he's with us, but he's not with us right now. He is out doing some puppy work. Mark, of course, our daily producer, helps us out producing the show. I wanted to come on personally and just kind of talk about, well, where we've been, how we got here, and where we're going. And of course, a lot of what we've been going through in this journey of life, all of us, right? Not just me. We try to share the experiences that we have been given, and we try to make everything as transparent as possible. Show it to you, you folks out there across the country who have been so amazingly supportive of this journey. And I got to get right into exactly what has happened to me recently. And some of you know, some have been paying attention, some have been probably suppressed through the corporate media world about what's been taking place. And, you know, one of the things that I have been often talking about on this show is my seeking a higher power. You know, I've been ignoring the answers that have been given to me for many years, 53 years to be exactly. I've been ignoring what has been knocking on my door, has been tapping on my shoulder, and I have been arrogantly thinking I can do it better. And I think when you look at what's going on in the world today, when we see the political divide, and you know, I'm not going to change my politics, folks, just because I maybe get a little bit more Christian-like. I'm not going to change my opinion on how we battle for America and fight for people. I'm not going to change that. But I've been fighting against this tap on my shoulder. I've been fighting back against the word. And the word's been coming from many different people. It hasn't just been coming from a Bible or a book or verses or songs. It's been coming from the contacts I've made across this country, the contacts I've made along the way in this journey on the interviewing of people on the road, the projects that I've been given this gift to be a part of. From my travels down south to South Carolina, working with my reality show partners, Put Up or Shut Up, my business partner, AB Money, and the family, working on our cannabis projects across this country. Or if it's just me traveling as the Kevin Allen Show, doing interviews like we'll be doing at CPAC coming up in March. Or maybe it's just me traveling and realizing that I'm following this journey along the way, and I get to make these connections and actually have these amazing, amazing experiences. But what is an experience without a plan? What's an experience without a plan? You know, you think about how we travel through life in this crazy journey right now with the media, the AI technology. The world is controlled by what seems to be something in a computer chip, not actual humans. We see things that are going on across the world in Ukraine, China, balloons floating over America getting shot down. We see the politics of the day being debated on the congressional floor. We see arguments in gas stations and grocery stores and amongst family members. And yet we didn't know how to rationalize over the last few years, COVID lockdown, the rights of Americans being taken from us from authority that has been given and granted only temporary power. Every 2, 4, and 6 years, these elections that take place in our country, have driven such a great divide in between us, friends, family, community. So over my travels over the last 3 years, I've experienced things. I've had a chance to talk to people, from the people who live under the bridge to the people who are serving in Congress. I've had a chance to speak to each and every one of these people, and I've shared those journeys with you. I've shared them because it's part of who I am. It's part of who I have become. What's actually what I've always been. You see, some of us, we think we are or want to be something. We think we know exactly what that destiny is. We think we have a plan and it's going to execute exactly the way we plan. And let me tell you, I will be the first to tell you that that is not how it happens. You can't plan this kind of journey. You can't try to put down on paper a schedule. You can't try to look to be exposed to or expose something to benefit. You can't have this dream of trying to get out there amongst the muckety muck and rub elbows with the rich and famous and get into your craft, which is media. You can't think you can do it without something else, a higher power. I've always thought I could. Go back to the time when I was serving in office as a politician. I thought I knew the answers to every issue that came my way. I had no experience. I convinced the people in my community to vote for me. And I was good at what I did. But I was bad at being a human. I was bad at being a person. I was bad at being an ex-husband now and a husband then. I was bad at being a father. I was bad at being a community leader. I was bad at trying to be good. But that being said, doesn't mean that I can't take back those moments. I can't change them, but I can certainly look back on everything that I've experienced over the last 3+ years and understand that I'm in this position today for a reason. Not because I get to share with you or go on these exciting trips around the country or talk about these future opportunities that we're going to have, which we'll talk about later on the show. That's all great stuff. But the one thing that I can tell you, that I can leave everything today alone. I can walk away from everything that I have, everything that I think I want, everything that I have worked so hard for, because of one reason and one reason only, and that's because of Jesus Christ. I've accepted God in my life in a way that has been major time impactful. It's changed the way I think, the way I feel, and the way I want to dream. I used to dream about being on stage and talking to groups of people, getting back into office again and running possibly for Congress here in Connecticut, or maybe as a senator against Chris Murphy. I dreamed about, once again, having riches and success and all those things that come along with it. And I think that's what we all do as humans, and it is a part of who we are, and it is part of what helps us get through this really crazy life we live. And I think dreams are important, and I don't at all want to shoot down anyone for dreaming. In fact, I'm going to continue to dream. You see, but when you dream and you're individually dreaming only about you, your dreams aren't going to be successful. You might have 1 or 2 successes along the way. You might hit some kind of plateau. You might be able to achieve, but you'll never be able to keep what you worked for. You see, I've worked hard on everything I've ever done in life, worked hard on everything I've ever done, but I've failed hard too. I fail hard because I've always wanted to do more. I've never been satisfied. I've never been complete. I've never felt like this is the answer that I've been looking for. I've never been that person that said, you know what, I'm going to just, be happy where I am. White picket fence, nice house on a cul-de-sac, couple cars, a motorcycle, friends and family in a community, public servant, own a bar, own businesses, create businesses. All these things are part of my journey. And every time that I would reach a pinnacle, I would look for more, not be happy with what I was given, not understand that the gifts that I were given were from a higher power. I thought I was the higher power. And see, it takes a realization of that dark moment. That moment you go into the tunnel. Yes, Raul, I'm using some of your words today. When you go into the tunnel and you try to figure out how to navigate through that dark place. You rely on your muscle memory. You go back to what you know. You go back to the same people you go back to. You start to text people and try to make business deals so you can get yourself out of a hole. You try to reach out to people that once were in that place with you, and you find that now that you're not in a position of authority or a position that is respected in a community because of your failures, you find that those phones aren't being answered anymore. There's no return for text messages. There's no responses to your questions, or your business deals weren't just materializing, not because of the other person, the other opportunity, but because of you. I was in that dark place. I failed as a father, as a husband. I failed as a community leader. I failed as a person who asked people to give me confidence. And you all know, anyone that knows me has been following this journey. You know what I've been going through. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I get a message. Are you okay, Kevin? Are you okay? And I appreciate that. It makes my heart full that somebody thinks about you. And I think that's one of the things that helps drives all of us, is not feeling alone. And think about how many people in this world feel alone right now that we walk by and we don't look down or give them a smile. Or we don't look in their eyes. Of course, with my glasses, hard to look in your eyes. We walk by people that need things, that need help, just a smile, a helping hand, an opportunity to maybe do better in life. And maybe we can't fix that one problem, but maybe if we try, we can. So I went into the tunnel. I went into the dark, and I took a chance on actually opening my mind up to a point where I was accepting of who was tapping on my shoulder. You know, people talk about when people accept Christ into their lives, they often, the people around them are the first ones to criticize. They think, so this person's doing this so they can achieve something. This person is only acting this way so he can feel better and have people think that. Listen, I understand all those things, because I was that person that thought that about people who claimed that they found Christ and they feel saved. I was that person that spoke that way. I was that person that would think in the back of my mind, they're just doing this for some other reason, some alternative reason. They want something. Well, yes, they do want something. Yes, we all want something. But it's not the same something that you would think of as gold and riches and fame and fortune and success. No, it's not that you really want. It's not that I wanted either. What I really wanted and seeked in my entire life growing up, in the 53 years I've lived, was to be complete. I fought back against that feeling. I fought back against those offers from people in my life who have often been there for me. And I go back to Melissa, my ex-wife, who's the most amazing person. I owe her more apologies than I have time to breathe. I go back to my children and how I embarrass them with my actions and my self-absorbed satisfactions. I go back to the community who gave me this opportunity to serve as a state representative and go to the state house here in Connecticut, also locally in a community, Griswold, Connecticut, as the first selectman. And each one of those moments, I was pulling it off. I was convincing people I'm doing good. I'm okay. And inside I was struggling, like many of you are right now. And I understand what struggling is, because struggle is the acceptance of who you are. To look in that mirror and realize that you're not the person you try to portray. You're not that person that is out there trying to do the right thing versus the wrong thing. I've been the wrong thing for a long time. And I say today that, it's been a while. We haven't done the show, but I felt compelled that I've just been waiting for the opportunity. And I don't want to make this into some kind of spiritual awakening for you right now. And I know that a lot of you that watch the show have your own path, and I support you and I respect it. I'm just sharing with you, if you choose to watch, if you choose to listen, if you choose to understand who I am and what I can do in the capacity that I've been given this chance from God, what my intentions are moving forward. Some of you might know that I was probably close to just walking away from the show a few months ago. I know Paula knows that. I know Mark knows it. I've just been confused on what I'm doing. Success has been determined by money for me. And believe me, I got a lot of money I got to make so I can pay back the people I owe money to. I got it, man. I really do. And this is all part of the plan, folks. And it's just not about money. It's about also paying back to those people that have given you the hope along the way, those people that weren't shutting the door on you. And I know who you are as well. But more importantly, those people that shut the door, those people that walked away, I love you even more. You see, without you, I wouldn't have been forced to go into that tunnel. I wouldn't have been in that place where the dark gave me a chance to see, where I had a chance to understand exactly who I am as a person, as a father, as a family member, as a friend. And so I thank you. I thank you all, even the most hurtful of people in my life. I thank you, and I pray for you. And I don't look back on any memory and have anything other than a positive reaction. I thank you. You helped me be alive. And through that moment, I get these opportunities to travel. I talk often about my cannabis business and how happy I am in the position I share with my family, AB Money, Caleb, the rest of the team. What we've been building in a relationship across this country from coast to coast in that space is just nothing less than a miracle. And I appreciate that God's put me in that position, not just to be in a business opportunity that's really coming together, but also because of the friendship and the family that I've made along the way. I'm also thankful for all the people like Kyle Reyes, who's given me a chance to get involved with people that I never would have met if it wasn't for Kyle. There's many other people that I can positively thank. There's many people that I could identify that were shutting the door on me, but that's the negative I no longer want to speak of. I just want to move forward with some positive thoughts. And, last Saturday I was driving down to chase some money once again. Chase some money and opening some stores up in Baltimore. Now, everyone that knows what Baltimore's like knows it's a very beautiful city that struggles. It's got some spots in the city that are, well, less than, desirable, I guess, for some. I pulled into the street where I was meeting the folks that I was going to be talking with and working with that day. And I will tell you that it was alarming to me. It was definitely a city that you don't see too often, a life that you don't see. I'm comfortable in those settings, but I know that I was aware. We had a great meeting. We looked at 3 or 4 spots that day in Baltimore, and I drove around, and something hit me. Something hit me really hard because I had been hearing the stories about Asbury, the university, and I didn't understand what was a revival. Why were people going to this university? Why were people attracted to even talk about Asbury? What is the big deal with Asbury? And I sat there and I remember I called Mark on Saturday. I said, Mark, what's going on in Asbury? What's on the agenda anyways for next week? And what's going on in Asbury? We started talking about it. And of course, he was a little bit more in touch with it than I was. And he shared with me what was going on and trending. Asbury Revival 2023, as you see right here. And I didn't understand. I mean, I was just, I'm not a guy who goes to church. I'm not a guy who's understood what this means. So of course I talked to Mark. I said, how far is it? And he said, it's 8.5 hours, I think. Put in the GPS, 8.5 hours from where I was. Now, mind you, I got to remind you here that this is part of the journey. I was just talking to my friend Larry Dale Carpenter from Texas, and I was sharing this with him. I drove the 2002 Toyota pickup with 272,000 miles on it today. I call it the Silver Bullet. My friend Larry Dukey, who sold that to me a few years ago, says I can't call it the Silver Bullet. But the Silver Bullet got us through a lot of journeys, but I asked for one last journey, and that was to Kentucky. And I wanted to go and see exactly what was going on there. I was getting called there, and I had my handheld, I had my cell phone, one of my old cell phones I used as a camera. when I link on to do lives on Facebook, I have my regular phone. I had a little microphone that I could, and I also had I had my stick to put my camera in. And I arrived to Asbury after a long ride and a couple naps in the truck. And more importantly, I think the best experience was my shower, my first shower in a truck stop. And if you haven't experienced that one, folks, please go take a ride and go shower in a truck stop. It's nothing like it. And I don't know if my feet have gotten a fungus yet. I've been cleaning them every day. I am going to tell you what I arrived to on Sunday at Asbury was nothing short of a miracle. And I say this with my own eyes and my own heart. And this is not to prove to you that Christ is real and argue with you if you have different theories. This is to tell you my experience. And so I showed up in in Kentucky. And by the way, my shout out to Eric Dieters, Diana, Adam, all the folks, Claire, all the folks out in Kentucky, who I wish I had time to go and see. Of course, I was out in Kentucky with Eric Dieters at the Freedom Fest this past summer, and didn't realize I'd flown out that time. When I flew out to Kentucky, it wasn't that bad of a trip in the Cincinnati airport, but this trip was in a 2002 Toyota pickup with 270,000 miles on it. And I drove out there and I came in and you passed by the couple areas where the police were directing traffic off the highway. And as you arrive into this setting, you quickly realize that this is there's something going on here. This is different. There was young children and parents and people gathered of all ethnicities, of all economics, of all education. I personally talked to probably 7 or 8 different people that had traveled there from throughout the world. And as I was actually taking it in, I was still confused. Why are we here? Why are these people waiting in this line for 5 hours to step 1 foot into this chapel? I saw Fox News was down there this morning. Kudos to Fox for covering it. Kudos to, actually, more importantly, Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson, who, a lot of people want to criticize Tucker for whatever political point of view he has. Tucker Carlson is in touch with the pulse of America. He understands what America is going through. And although you might not agree with Tucker's political positions at times, you might think that he's this or that, he was brave enough to give this the exposure that it needed. Of course, Tucker was following up what had happened at that moment when the students went back into the chapel. And we'll share that story that the pastor shared that I was privileged to be a part of hearing him speak on Sunday. So I started to walk up towards an area to check in and call myself media, because I was there, again, to gain something, to get something, to put it out on my social media platform, to share with the people that I could, to try to boost my numbers so I could be, get ratings. And I started to sense the feeling of the people around me. And it was pretty overwhelming. I started to sense that people weren't here for the wrong reason. I didn't see, but all I saw was smiles. I didn't see one person complain, yell, argue. I saw children playing in a field that looked like an old park when I was growing up in the 80s, when we didn't have technology, so we talked to each other. I see people snaking around the front lawn, getting ready to step into that chapel. One step in is all they wanted. And I walked past these groups and smiled and didn't start doing any recording yet. I was still thinking, I want to check in and be part of the media. And I walked up. Young lady said, I asked where you check in for media. She brought me over to an area. We checked in. I believe I was the first or second to check in on Sunday afternoon. And see, when you're going through this, the check-in, it was really eye-opening because there was a faculty there and a student that was working the desk, and they asked me who I was. I showed a business card. They could verify, of course, and all that stuff. But she simply looked at me and smiled and said, "Here's your pass." And they did a handwritten pass, and they stuck the sticker right on my jacket so I could be identified as media. No one else was there that day covering media at that time. There was no corporate media, no CNBC, no CNN, no Fox News that day, although I give, again, Fox a lot of credit for covering. No local media. I was the media presence that day, at that time, on Sunday, at Asbury in Kentucky. And I remember I put the sticker on, I got my little equipment ready and all that stuff fixed up and charged up, and I'm ready to go. And I started to go out, and I've never breathed a fresher air in my life. Is when I left the building to walk out to the crowd. The sun was perfect. The temperature was perfect. The people were smiling. There was at least 2,000-3,000 people in line. So I started walking the line and talking to people and just asking them, "Why are you here? What brought you here?" The stories were a little different. I came from California. I didn't have a ride or money to get here, but because I believed in my community, my family believed, they said, this one in particular lady from California, that it came together. And she told me how she's staying in an Airbnb and she flew there. This is her. She needed to be here. I talked to people, husbands and wives who had been sharing in their journey of spiritual growth and felt a calling to be there. And they drove 9 hours. I talked to people that had come from other countries. Singapore, as Tucker talked about. I met people from Russia and the Ukraine all on the same day. I met people from China. There was a couple that had traveled from a South American country that was up on stage talking about how they sold their car in their country so they could go to this revival. You see, corporate media looks at this revival as something of a kook fest. The nuts are gathering. The crazies are getting together. Could you imagine to think it's crazy to believe in something of a higher power, in God and Jesus? The critics that think that way, I have to ask, why? Even if I didn't understand or agree, there's something spiritual and magical and beautiful about a revival, about a gathering like this. The people came together. And as I walked around and I was able to do the interviews and talk to people, I soon realized that I wasn't there as a media person. I was there because God put me there. And I just started taking it in. And yeah, I talk to people because that's what I do. And I believe that my purpose in what I'm doing currently is not to walk away from doing the show I do, not walk away from doing the interviews I do, and not walk away from, only relying on monetizing, but just do it the way I've always done it, which is talk to people. And that's what I did that day. I talked to people. And I talked to a lot of people, and the one thing that they asked me when I checked in was that I could not record live inside the chapel. You could do 15-second recordings, you could do audio, pictures, but no live. And so I went in and I had to clear some security to get in, of course. And by the way, the security there was amazing. Not a lot of police officers present, but a lot of staff and volunteers. We'll talk about that in a moment. And I was able to, get in. And of course, we're not letting people in. And then, of course, I said, well, the person who I checked in with did say, and I wasn't being rude. I was just being, whatever happens, happens. Gentleman came over and said, okay, come on in. And he walked me inside, and I was able to sit down in the corner right by the stage. And it suddenly hit me that God put me there. You see, because they had made an announcement earlier in the week that the only people that were going to be prioritized were the 25 and the Gen X. we're going to be prioritized to come into the chapel, because that's really what this is about. And if you don't know the story, folks, I'll share what the pastor shared that day. He said, how did this start? Do you know how it started? And some people knew, and some people, like myself, actually didn't. And the pastor talked about how a student asked one of his teachers, his professors, if he could go back to the chapel and finish his prayer because he hadn't finished. And that student went back and he started his prayer. And then a few of his friends went to the chapel and met with him, and they started to pray. And then they started to pray even longer, and they started to sing, and they started to record this on social media. I mean, we talk about how terrible social media is. We talk about all the bad things of the world we live in, and there are some bad sides to it. I'm a part of this social media-driven platform. I understand what the good and bad are in it. But once that went viral, once that took off, that video took off, it started to gain attention, and that is exactly how this started, according to the pastor that day. People started watching this revival across the world, and they started to believe in something that we've been waiting for. They started feeling the hope and the hopelessness, and the hope in the hopelessness of life. They started to understand that this is a place that might represent the very thing that we all have been waiting for. And God is speaking through this event. I started to feel it. And folks, this isn't when I accepted Jesus in my life. I had already made that move a while back. We'll talk about that at a later date, because it's not the part of the story that I want to share today. But I had a sense of overwhelming peacefulness that I've never had in my life. And some will say, oh, you were just getting into the moment. You were doing this. No. I am an alumni of over 50,000 people that attended Asbury, and I will tell you that God put me there for a reason. I didn't drive 8.5 hours because I wanted to drive 8.5 hours in a 2002 Toyota pickup. I didn't go there because of wanting to do video, even though I thought that was the reason why. I didn't go there to try to get ratings on my show, although I thought that was going to help. I went there because God put me there to expose me to an opportunity to understand exactly what it is that he wants from me and what it is I can do to serve him. And some of you out there are going to take this and you're going to ball it up into something of negative, maybe. And that's okay. You can do that. I don't need to prove to anyone. I will let my life prove it to me. You know, one of the folks that questioned me on the road when I did a post was interesting. And I don't necessarily know if it came from a place of true love or a place of true hate. And it was questioning whether or not I was true. And I want to say thank you for that question, because, you know, I've proven enough to people that know me that I've been a failure, that I've asked for confidence. I've asked for people to believe in me, and I've failed. And so I thought that was a great question for me. Are you there for the right reasons? Because quite honestly, guys, I wasn't going there for the right reasons in the beginning. I knew I wanted to go there. It was in me. But I still was thinking I was going there for this reason. And I'm sharing with you right now on my show. I can erase the show after we're done. It doesn't matter. I just wanted to take advantage of this platform to make sure that if you're out there and you're ever thinking, well, maybe I should take that ride. Maybe I should take that walk. Maybe I should take that one chance to learn more about what God can do for you. I want you to take advantage of that. I don't want you to think you're alone. I don't want you to think you have no one that's listening. You don't have anyone that's caring, because you don't need anyone in the room, guys. You're not alone. You're never alone. See, I felt like I was alone for the majority of my adult life, and I don't want to get into the history of why I had those feelings. That's not the point right now. The point is the experience that I went through at Asbury. You know, and we have seen what the news has been talking about. Canceled. Asbury University Revival shutting down. Now, you say canceled, and I find this to be a very cute, whoever put this graphic together, canceled. Using the word canceled. Asbury University Revival shutting down. You know, it's interesting because Kinsley was there this morning from Fox News, And she was talking to some of the people and even talking to the rest of the Fox News reporters. And it's not canceled, but it's being tempered down, and they're going to let people come at night, and they're going to kind of change things. But guys, what it did is exactly what the pastor said on Sunday it should do. It should inspire the world. And we've seen now other parts of the country having their own revivals, having groups of people gathering and people coming together in Christ's name and understanding that they're coming together because of the inspiration from one little college, a university in Kentucky, a small little Christian academy. Tucker Carlson covered it. The corporate media ignored it. And I drove down there to it. And I will tell you, everything you see in this picture, in fact, even the lights that are coming in and beaming in on these beautiful people right here, these children, these kids, the next generation, gave me such hope and promise for where we're going. I don't think we're as broken as corporate media and the politicians want to tell us we are. I don't think we're as broken as a people in this nation and the world. See, this is exactly what we needed at the exact time we needed it. We needed to know that there was more than just us. There was an opportunity for us to see the real true gift. I had the experience. And no doubt God put me there. And some of you are going to take this again, and you're going to think this is just a play, an opportunity to do something different. And folks, it's not. But that's not for me to tell you. It's for me to prove to you. So if I accepted my responsibility, and I accepted who I am, and I accepted that I know that I have now a job. I was looking for that job. I was looking for that job for the longest time. And I wanted to get hired by a radio station. I'm not cut out for radio. I tried that. Thanks to my good friend Lee Elsey, got me on a local station here in Connecticut. It didn't work. The show is my platform, and there's no rules behind it. I can talk when I want to talk. I can not talk when I don't want to talk. I can engage with you all when I want to, and I can leave it sit there if I want to as well. But I've been looking for that job, and then my businesses are thriving. They're going amazing, and I know the energy that's thriving. That is because of the place I have arrived. See, what God will tell you is He'll tell you that you can have the promise if you seek it. But you have to want it for the right reasons. You can't want it for all the things I wanted it before. I wanted to lust and to drink alcohol and to be be the big shot on the campus. And you know what? All that got you? It got me into the tunnel, guys. But I'm out of the tunnel. And I'm out of the tunnel in a big way. And opportunities for me to share this is exactly what I will live to do as long as I'm doing this platform. As long as I have a voice and I have a chance to do this and I have this platform, I will speak positively about what has changed in my life and because of God. And for me, accepting Jesus into my life and praising all that He's given me, I will continue to share that with you. And if this turns you off, you can turn me off. And if you're curious, don't come to me for an answer because I'm learning myself, but I can find someone that can help you. And I want to also say this platform is not going to turn into, some of you, the Holy Roller Network. It's not going to be every time you tune in, I'm going to be, praising Jesus for everything. I probably will include Him in everything I do in life, but I will promise you, we won't be bringing it to you that way. We're going to continue to talk about the news of the day, have interesting interviews, talk to people, but understand one thing. This entire journey is for a higher purpose. God's given me this platform to actually connect and to bring people together. And often I have sat back and thought that that was the purpose, but I didn't focus on how to get there. And now I know. And now I know. And now I know the rest of my life has been planned for me. Asbury Revival 2023, it goes on. It's not canceled. It doesn't end because they changed the hours. It didn't end because they said, we're not going to run a 24-hour revival anymore. This revival continues, folks. It doesn't end, because as long as it's in your heart, as long as it's in your desire, as long as you are doing godly work, as long as you are willing to do the right versus the wrong, a revival never ends. And so I say to those folks that might be listening to us right now, go out and challenge yourself in your own communities. How can you start your own revival? How can you do something to bring people together? I think God is calling me to do that right now. I think he's asking me to work on bringing people together so we can not just worship and congregate or connect, but we can also figure it out together. You know, in this world of confusion and craziness, we feel lost. And you go back into that tunnel. You got to find your way out again. But the tunnel has a light at the end. And I can sit here as proof, living proof, breathing, that I love living. I love life. I love what God's given me. I love the chance that I have to make right by the ones I've wronged, by giving me a chance to do the right thing for the rest of my life. And if it's me living under a bridge, or if God has a different destiny for me, I have accepted it, and I am willing to take it, and I'm willing to execute it in the way that he has determined for me. So that's it. It's as simple as that. I'm going to end today's show, and we'll come back with some regular scheduled stuff. I think Mark's working on some of the folks that we're going to have on the show. I hope I didn't bore you. I hope I didn't scare you. And I hope that you don't believe me. I hope you don't believe me. Don't believe me. Don't ever trust me. Don't ever give me anything until I prove it. And so there you go. It's as simple as that. We're all sinners, folks, and we all have a struggle. And when you look around a room, don't forget that somebody might be hurting. Somebody might be struggling. Don't be afraid to go up to that person and say, "How are you?" You don't have to get all spiritual on them. You don't have to get all into the God on them. You don't have to try to push something. This is my journey that I experienced. I'm not trying to push this on you. I'm not saying this is for you right now, but I'm saying that this was the answer for me. And I know I want to share it, but I don't want to overwhelm you. I want you to be willing to come out of that tunnel and be a part of this amazing energy that God can give you. And when you're ready, you'll do it. But I won't forget you, and I won't walk by you without smiling, and I won't walk by you without shaking your hand or picking you up or feeding you or helping you along the way. See, that is exactly what I've always known I should be doing, but I've been ignoring what I should be doing. I've been ignoring the tap on my shoulder. I'm woke. Maybe not a term that you want to hear, but I'm woke, and I'm ready, and I'm willing, and I'm excited to serve the people, not just in my communities, the people of this country. I'm willing to go on the road soon and try to talk to more people, encourage more people to think about how they can get out of that tunnel, how they can walk into the light and see the hope and feel the hope and know and live the hope. Asbury University, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I believe Asbury University saved my life. I actually know it. I'll see you tomorrow on The Kevin Allen Show.
T Cowboy, The Kevin Allen Show welcomes you to today's show. So, sit back, relax, and put your thinking caps on, and remember to share, like, and subscribe.